Well, happy Memorial Day to our U.S. friends. Welcome to the Aligning with Success call. This is May 25th, 2020. And we have a person who's going to share with us some information that I've asked her to share because she has been a participant in a course that I was a participant in some years ago that meant something meaningful to me. But before we get into that, I just wanted to point out, if you are a reader, there's a book right now that's making its way through the Nikan circles. Our president's read it. Dave Johnson's been talking about it. I just ordered my copies for myself, friends, and family. This is a book called Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor E. Frankl. I mean, this is not a book that's uncommon or unpopular. This is about as popular as the Bible in some cases for a lot of people who've been really looking for meaning in life. And this man endured some of the most gruesome times in the history of man, and yet still was able to find meaning and purpose and a renewed sense of hope for humankind. So I would like to encourage you all, and for this, a selfish reason, I find that if we can all get on the same frequency, the same vibration, then we can create so much more together. And leadership and vision is so important this time at this stage of the game for all of us and for the people we wish to influence. Then if we were all, speaking the same language, coming from the same heart, then there would be a potency. Even though you may be out on a call by yourself, you're not by yourself when you feel a sense of connectedness to a group of people who have a really deep connection to you, the purpose of the work, the meaning behind the work, why you're even sharing it with the people that you're sharing it with. And so that often comes when we're on calls like this, when we meet each other, when we connect and we start to share certain ideas that we feel that are uncommon and inspiring. Anyway, so I'd like to encourage, maybe you pick up a copy of this book. I got this from Amazon. I got 5 sent to me because I don't ever buy one book. If I'm going to read something, I'm going to have it shared. That's great, Leonardo. So, Leonardo, have you read the book yet, or are you in the process of reading it?
No, I have just finished with the Christ letters, so this is the next one. I just read it 3 days ago.
Okay, excellent. So I would love to encourage everybody who's listening to this, either in the playback or tonight, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor E. Frankl. Anyway, I think you'll understand as you start to read why this is an important book, maybe for us as an organization at this time, and why I'm being called to share that with you. So, and tonight's call is a sharing call. Ordinarily, I come to you pre-planned with ammunition, and we've had a lot of ammo in the last few calls. So I think if you just took the time to maybe revisit those calls, you'll see that there's very specific direction. And if you're not implementing, then you're missing out on what I think is key strategy. And it was the concept of being strategic versus strategic in terms of our thinking versus just being heartfelt. Those are almost, you could say, one's tactical and one's strategic. But the point is, we have to have our heart and our head in balance when we're approaching this as a business. And I also want to define business, because I had this conversation recently with some of our leaders, and the word business is often thrown around. Oh, you're building the business, you're building the business. And I wanted to be very clear about what we mean by that. So I almost want to insist that we even change our terminology, because building the business means different things to people. So the majority of people right now, they're just looking to generate an income. So Nikan is a vehicle to just simply generate an income. And from what we know, the compensation plan and our products, of course, the most profitable way to do that is to generate sales through marketing the products. And so that in itself is a business activity. And building a business that's profitable means you're generating sales and you're being profitable in that regard. But when I'm talking about building the business in the bigger sense, what we're really speaking about is building an organization. And building an organization, when you say that out loud, that means something different in your mind. You reason it different, you see it different, you see the tasks different, you see what's involved differently. When I say building a business, it's a little bit too open-ended. It could mean so many things. And you may think I'm talking about building a business when you're doing a retail activity, and meanwhile, I'm talking about building an organization. So here I am instructing you on things that might be relevant to building an organization that are totally irrelevant to building simply a retail business. You see what I mean? So being a little more clear about what we mean when we're talking about building, there's building a book of business in terms of customers, and then there's building an organization. And the two are not the same. What Niken would like us to do is even larger than both. In fact, it's a mirror of both. It's building a wellness community, creating an atmosphere where anyone who's interested in the subject of wellness is welcome. That doesn't mean they have to buy product. That doesn't mean they have to be on these calls. That doesn't mean that we have to be following up with them every 24 hours. You know what I'm saying? Building a wellness community is a space that people can come and learn about wellness and its different aspects. And then, of course, those that are interested in taking it to another level, who may be interested in products and solutions, will find that. We'll make that easily findable. And in those who are looking to build an income stream, we'll find that. They'll find the conversations that we invite them to participate in that. And then there are those who want to build an organization because they really like the idea of what that could lead to from the examples that have been set before from people who've got very large and successful organizations, the lifestyle that leads to, their ability to influence, and not only influence, of course, how people adapt to the products, but influence the way people think. For instance, the fact that I suggested a book tonight, this is a book that can shape your thinking. And what shapes your thinking shapes your life and your ability to influence others with that thinking. So building a community, building a following, building an organization is a little different than having a transaction, and a little bit more involving. So I just wanted to point that out so that we can become a little bit more diligent in our dialogue when we're talking about building a business. I can see building an income stream, and I can see building an organization. And they're all part of building a business, but not everybody's interested in building an organization. And so I don't want to make the assumption when we say building a business that we're implying they're building an organization, because that may impose on them. I may be asking them to calls. I may be asking them to do things that they wouldn't want to do because they don't have an intention of building an organization. So let's get clear about that. And there's a reason for this. And that's because as we move forward, as Niken becomes a company that's going to be attracting 10 million customers in the next 3 years, you heard me right, then we have to recognize that not everybody that we attract is going to want to, quote, build a business. Some may want an income, and those who decide that that's something they want to do may look further down the road and say, I'd like to have the whole meal. I'd like to have an organization and have the benefits of what that looks like. So let's be clear, because we are going to attract a whole lot of people, and we don't want to put everybody in one shoe. This shoe doesn't fit all sizes. It's got to be tailored to the individual, and that means we've got to create space for that. So just recognize that the terminology that we use has meaning. Okay, so welcome those of you who just popped in, and for those of you watching the playback, I've asked Mary Robson, who's on the line here from BC, who has been very diligent sharing with me every single day, as she's asked me to be the one she's accountable to, which, by the way, that was one of the exercises that we've had over the last few calls, and that is to give someone permission to hold you accountable, which means essentially set some objectives and ask them to hold you accountable to your own objectives. So that way you've got somebody to lean against, and you're giving them permission to lean against you so that you can be following through. And I say that with all due respect, because you may be new to business. You may be a first-time entrepreneur, or you may be somebody who's never really had a business plan. You've been in NICAN, but you haven't had a real business plan. You've been a little bit shy about setting goals, or maybe you once upon a time did that and feel a little bit shy about doing that now. Whatever. The point of having somebody that you can share these thoughts with and have some degree of accountability with is for your benefit. It's not for their benefit. So I'm happy to be the thumbs up every day that Mary gets when she reports in that she's read the sections that she's read, and she's done the exercises that were asked of her on a daily basis. Why is that important, Mary? Why is it important for you to be following through? I mean, the course you took was a 3-day online course a little over a week ago, 2 weeks ago now. Why is it so important to have me give you a thumbs up every day? Let's start with that.
Great question, Michael. And good evening, everyone. Great to see all your beautiful faces. Why is it important? It's important for me to be thinking outside of my head, and also to be exercising my will at a better level, a higher level of will, and in my imagination. So by reporting to you every night, I have this feeling of responsibility and accountability that I wouldn't have if I chose my nephew or my niece, for instance, because they would just accept me and never even question what I'm doing. You are actually creating more awareness in me by asking me to do things like we are doing tonight. So that's at a different level. Like I'm way up here in what I'm doing by having to be accountable to you. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, it makes perfect sense. I mean, it's like you said, if you gave it to somebody who didn't really understand or respect what you were doing, then it's just an activity and it doesn't really have value or meaning. But when you're doing it with somebody you know knows better, yeah, then you're going to be a little bit more diligent about it. And like you said, when I throw you a curveball like I did today, now it's a call to action that's saying, oh, I really need to know what I'm talking about here, because now I'm going to be actually talking about it. So, and by the way, there's a reason I ask, because there's 2 reasons why I ask. One, I want this organization to benefit from what you're doing. We can all learn from each other. We don't all have to have the same experience to learn. So the assumption I'm making is we can learn from others. So you're an opportunity for us to learn something that you're learning. And I've asked you to contextualize it because we're here for the sake of building a NICAN organization, building a NICAN team, strengthening our business. And so what you're learning, I want it to be defined within the context of what everybody else is here for. Okay. That's one reason. The second reason is, as the person you've asked to hold you accountable, I know the best way to learn something is to teach someone what you're learning, because then you really have to process the thoughts and deliver that information in a way that you can see that they're understanding. And that's much more difficult. And so when you are able to convey a message where others can understand you, that's when you know what you're talking about. So that's one of the reasons why I've asked you to do that. So I've asked Mary to maybe just highlight a few key essential points that she's gained from the experience so far, the curriculum she's been on called The Science of Getting Rich. And that was a course delivered by Bob Proctor. And she's going through a myriad of exercises and tons of repeat. So one of the questions I guess I'll ask you at the end is why the repetition, but maybe that's part of what you're going to share with us. So I'm just going to let you have the floor and share with us what I've asked you to share in the next 10, 12 minutes for the benefit of everyone.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here and to share with you. And I have looked at this from the point of serving you. And as I said in my Facebook Live, I love that quote by Golden Rule Jones. What I want for myself, I want for everybody. So that's how I feel. So I've chosen 3 areas that I've been working on. One is paradigm. So I'll start with that first. And I'm sure you have the definitions, but I'll just review it with you. So paradigms, understanding paradigm precedes change. So in order for me to change, I really have to understand the paradigms. So Bob's definition of a paradigm is a mental program that was planted in my mind when I was very young, and that has exclusive control over my habitual behavior, and most of my behavior is habitual. In the last 3 weeks, I have gained a better understanding and appreciation that is making a difference in my life. And specific example, one of the paradigms I've had is that I'm not good enough, that I'm too old, that there is, I don't have a lot of profound things to share with people. So what I did do after—
Let me just pause you there for a second, because I'm sure looking at this audience tonight, there's people who can relate to what you just said. Is there anybody out there who's had maybe similar paradigms? Probably, yeah? Yeah, okay. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. So one of the things I did is that I am so focused on changing my paradigms, and Bob talks about the paradigms are in our, unconscious mind, and we have the conscious ability, the intellect, to change that. So use our imagination and use our intuition, our perception, the reasoning. So that's what I've been doing. So a friend of mine who's been trying to get me on social media and Facebook for years now sent out a challenge called Imperfect Action, and is to just go on Facebook and do a Facebook Live. And for 2 days, I said, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. Then I just kept reading this material of, changing my paradigms, actually using my will to take this action. So that's one of the things I did. I just posted it. And I think I've posted about 3 now so far. And I'm actually enjoying it now. So it's a big shift for me.
Okay, let me just pause you for a second, because I think this is something that everybody should pay special attention to, because social media is becoming such an important part of the way we do business, and it's going to become more and more important as we go along, from what I understand, that there is a fear. There's a fear on how to do it. What do? I don't even know what to do. Like, just the word alone just scares me. So somehow you were affirming something enough to say, okay, let me just give a stab at it. And now you're like 3 or 4 videos in, and you're like, hey, I'm kind of liking this. So, and that happened in what period of time? This is just a matter of days. You went from being—
it was about a week after the live stream with Bob, and then I am doing this for 4 hours a day. So that's why you're getting my texts at midnight, because I'm using the evening. I have to do all the other things.
That's 3 o'clock in the morning my time, by the way, but yes, midnight your time.
I'm hoping that your phone is not ringing.
No, but this is really important, because this is a demonstration of how we can break through a paradigm, and how a paradigm, I'm not good enough, translates into, I don't know what to do with social media. Like how something seems so unrelated, and yet it's not, because it's controlling your thought process about learning something new and relevant, something very relevant to our business. So shifting your thought, by the way, was there an affirmation? How is it that you shifted your thought? And besides that, there was an action. You took action, and that was the key, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There wasn't an affirmation, but what I personally discovered with this work with Bob is that I see myself now on a spiritual journey. And I've always separated who I am. I'm raised as a Catholic, so I'm a sinner, right? Mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. So, and I'm a devout Catholic. I'm also an extraordinary minister in the Catholic Church. So, and so I've never seen doing business and actually wanting, like, I love money and I love spending it, but I hate the idea of money as well. From my childhood anyway. So what has changed for me is that this is a spiritual journey, and I'm gaining an understanding and seeing that I can do this. That spirit, and Bob said, mine and yours. Spiritual DNA is perfect. I just love that. Mine and your spiritual DNA is perfect. And spirit is always for expansion. And so I thought, okay, this is what I believe now. I truly believe it. And you remember, I shouldn't even remind you.
I just need to underscore this point because this is so big. You say it in passing. But I think it's really important that we make an exclamation mark here. So the first premise is that you're spiritually perfect, that your spiritual fingerprint, if you will,
yeah.
that your DNA, the thing that was God made, is perfect and not imperfect, that it's perfect. So there's an aspect of you that actually is perfection. To recognize that, to just simply acknowledge there's an aspect of you, a higher aspect of you that's perfect, is huge, because that's already a thought that's opposite to you being lesser than, that you being somehow inferior. Okay, so there's a perfection operating within you. And you also mentioned that your religious upbringing suggested otherwise, that if you have a foundational premise that's flawed, then you build upon that premise a character assassination. And if you are going about life thinking that you're inferior somehow, then that's applying in every aspect of life. But and the second thing you said was that you realize that all aspects of this life is a spiritual journey, which means money too is spirit. It's a spiritual function of the spiritual journey. So money is not a bad thing. Money is not anything except an expression. And you did say, and that you've learned and believed this, and this is the big one: spirit is for expansion and fuller expression. Spirit is for expansion, always for expansion and fuller expression. So you, that spiritual perfection, is seeking to expand and fuller express itself through you, your life. And therefore, everything about your life is a spiritual expression, and it's seeking expansion. And when you realize that, then you don't think of money coming to you as something bad. Now you see it as a spiritual expression. An expansion is what it wants to do. So having more and more abundance is your nature. It's actually in alignment with your perfect spiritual blueprint. Okay, carry on from there.
Yeah, so just to read on my notes here, Bob said, your spiritual DNA is perfect. It requires no modification or improvement. It is all-knowing. It is all-powerful. It is ever-present, and it is the real you. That's so beautiful. And so the other little thing I've done is, and probably a big thing, but I see it as a little thing, is that throughout the day, I am talking to Spirit, and I am thanking Spirit for everything that I have to do. I've got a huge plate still around my brother's estate and stuff like that. So I'm just saying, I'm so grateful. Spirit, this is wonderful. Spirit, guide me. In preparing for this evening, when you sent me the text, I first panicked, of course. That's my normal, that's my paradigm. Then I just asked Spirit to guide me to see what would be the most beneficial for everybody on the call. So
Fantastic.
okay.
So let me point out then, there's the real you, and then there's the you that you're pretending to be, the you that you're, I don't know, what would you call that one? So the real you, which is everybody here has a real you. And therefore the you that you're masking around as right now is obviously a smaller version of yourself, because the real you is the perfect version.
Yep.
So why then are we doing that to ourselves? Why are we playing small?
Again, Bob says it's our paradigms. And so because they're so habitual, and he also quoted Hyman, but I don't know where it is in my book here. He said that in the absence of real goals, we tend to be busy with menial things. And I can relate
like that. In the absence of real goals, we tend to be busy with remedial things. So what would you define as a real goal?
Well, the real goal that I'm learning about is my fantasy goal, what I was brought on this planet to do, to make a difference in the world. So that's my, in the absence of that goal, which is my fantasy goal.
So in the absence of the goal of making a difference, a real big difference,
yeah,
then we tend to get locked into remedial things, which are in many cases not very meaningful, and for that matter, not very fulfilling.
No.
So,
here.
Go ahead.
In the absence of a clearly defined goals, we become strangely loyal to performing daily trivia until ultimately we become slaves to it. Robert Heilman. I just thought,
that's really good. Okay, so that means if we don't have a real goal, we're really, really undermining life, ourselves, our spirit, which is seeking to be fuller expressed.
Yeah.
So therefore, if you don't have a goal, you're undermining yourself. You're countering the spirit's ability to move through you and impress upon you greater things. So whose job is it to give you a goal?
Mine, yeah.
And now you also said the real goal.
Yeah.
Okay, so how would you define a real goal in the context of Nikan?
A real goal in the context of Nikan would be to be at a Royal Diamond level where I have a team of people that would make a huge difference in the world.
Well, why not a silver level or a gold level?
Well, that's what I've been playing at, and it hasn't been fun.
Careful, there's some people on a call here that are not yet gold, not yet silver, but you're saying, and by the way, you remind me of a call that I did some years ago. I did a call and I said, is there anybody here who's a silver and above? And they put up their hand, and there were many on the call that were not yet silver and above. And I said, particularly silvers, I said, and how many of you like being a silver, want to continue being a silver? Not a single hand. And I said, how many of you are not yet a silver and want to be a silver? And all the hands went up. I said, well, why don't you guys just switch places? Because you got all these silvers who don't want to be a silver. Why don't you want to be a silver? Because their spirit is seeking to expand. And once you've expanded into a box, it needs a bigger box.
Yeah, that's true. And it's the same goes with buying a new car. You've always wanted that car, and after a couple of months it's an old car. You're thinking of the new models. So and that's being at a silver. I was pleased that it happened. And living as a silver in an entirely different space I was in versus just the last few weeks. Bob said, at one point, he said, the only way you're going to change is if you feel it inside. You have to go inside. And then that brought me back to all of the I can work I did with you and Marty. You know, we went on for months and months, and I was doing it, but I was doing it up in here. It was right here. Like, it made sense, but it didn't touch my heart. It didn't expand me the way that I feel expanded now. Like and I know you a couple of times on these calls, you said, oh, you look different, blah, blah, blah. But I think that was superficial. It was momentary. Now I feel that I could carry this feeling that I have because I am, my DNA is perfect. My spiritual DNA is perfect. And I'm on a spiritual journey. So I see this as an entirely different way of living and being, more being than living.
Fantastic. Okay, so you touched on goals, the fact that that's critical. You got to have a goal or you're short-circuiting the very nature of your life to expand and seek expression, and the nature of spirit, which is your perfect self. What else? Is there anything else that you want to add to this conversation?
So one of the things that he talked about was, you know, the conscious mind and the intellectual side. I already touched on that. And he said that this seminar is built upon the premise that you have a power within you that is far superior to any conditions or circumstances around you. A power within you that is far superior to any conditions or circumstances around you. With free will, your thoughts direct the power of whatever results you choose in this lifetime. So he said, have a look at your results. And then I put my results in Nikan. If your results are not favorable, then you need to make up your mind consciously to change your habits and do it every day. Use the will and discipline as your new tool. And I'm doing all kinds of interesting things that he's recommended. This is my, looking at what I want to set as a goal, this is my left hand writing on what I love to do. So
okay, so wait, you're using your left hand to write just to break
the habits, change to make it more profound. So I have here what I love to do. I love to make people feel good. I love to use my imagination. I love to understand the laws of the universe. I love my faith, and I'm taking action to attract the men and women on my Royal Diamond journey.
Fantastic. We just had a question. Is this from the book I had recommended? The book that I recommended earlier tonight is Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor E. Frankl. What Mary is sharing with us is her experience from a 3-day workshop she did based on a book called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, which was written in 1903. And this was workshopped by Bob Proctor online. And she was not only, in this curriculum, she was also given instruction on how to follow through and in order to make a change in our life. And that's one of the questions that I had for you, Mary, was that one of the reasons why you're texting me every day, she's texting me every single day at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, the list of things that she completed for the day, which relate to the exercises that she's been instructed to go through. Why every day? Because of what she just said. Writing her goal with her left hand is by design something she can do on a daily basis that breaks through a paradigm in her mind that she can only write with the right hand. It starts activating brain cells and a different part of the brain altogether. So it's a shift, it's a break in habit, it's a change that is constructive. And the reason why you have to do it every day, it's like exercising a new muscle. You need to exercise that muscle in order to build strength in that muscle to make the shift permanent. So repetition, spaced repetition, which if anybody remembers a program called I Can that Mary referenced, spaced repetition is the key to making the shift. Why? Because your habits are repeated every day. And so you're watering your habits, you're nurturing your habits by virtue of doing the same things every day. So when you use your willpower to create a new habit, like writing your goal with your left hand, and you use your willpower to do that, to get up in the morning or in the day to do it, and then to notify your coach, that the person you're asking to hold you accountable, that you've done it, you're creating a new habit. With the same mechanism that you created the old habit, you're creating a new habit. And when you create a new habit, you are now a new person. Mm-hmm. And therefore, everything starts to shift accordingly. Anything else, Mary?
Well, how much time
did you have any example? You had mentioned a few examples that you had.
Okay, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I did is there's chapter 8 in the Think and Grow Rich, known in the Science of Getting Rich. And he talks about thinking in a certain way. And I want to share that with you. And then what I did is I called a colleague and I want to share how she thinks. So thinking in a certain way, you must have a clear and definite mental picture of what you want. Bob recommends asking yourself, what do you really, really want? Write it down. In writing it in my left hand, it feels so much more profound because I have to focus on each letter. And so it's going deeper and deeper. It is not enough that you should have a general desire for wealth and to do good with. Everyone has that desire, and that describes me perfectly because I have this wonderful imagination and I dream about helping all these different people. So he said that as an example, when you send a message, you construct the message to mean something. So it's the same thing that now when we're texting, when you're texting somebody, you send a coherent sentence and a message so they would understand. When you try to impress your wishes upon the thinking substance, God or universe, however you define them, remember that it must be done by a coherent statement. You must know what you want and be definite. That's why he's constantly asking, what do you really, really, really want? Unless your desire to get rich is strong enough, or my desire to become a royal diamond is strong enough to hold my thoughts to that purpose, the same force as the magnetic pole holds the needle of the compass, it will hardly be worthwhile for you to try to carry on instructions given in this book. And that's why I was thinking of the I Can program. Like, you guys were fabulous and I was loving it, but I didn't have that hold, that magnetic hold for my purpose. I just saw myself as becoming a silver, which I did achieve, but I didn't go beyond that. That's where I stopped myself. So I'd like to share a conversation with you that I had with Ruth Lowe today. So
for those of you who don't know Ruth Lowe, she's a platinum in California. She's one of our leaders on many of our conference calls and our Zoom calls. If you haven't met her yet, she's brilliant. And she's always a qualifier as well for Team Kaizen and many of the Nikan incentives. So this is somebody we do want to hear from. So go ahead, Mary. What'd you learn from Ruth?
So I asked her the following. In chapter 8 in this book, it says, the more clear and defined you make your picture and the more you dwell upon it, the stronger your desire will be. And the stronger your desire, the easier it will be to hold your mind fixed upon the picture of what you want. However, something more is necessary than merely seeing the picture clearly. If that is all you do, you're only a dreamer and you will have little or no power for accomplishment. Behind your clear vision must be the purpose to realize it, to bring it to a tangible expression. And behind this purpose, you must be an invincible and unwavering faith that the thing is already yours, that it is at hand, and that you have to take possession of it. So I asked her, does that define who she is and what she's doing? And she said, absolutely. So she tells me, so in her home, she has this whiteboard that's right next to her computer. And she looks at that whiteboard for 12 hours a day because that's what she's doing. She's at her computer for 12 hours a day. On the left-hand side, she has her monthly PPVs, PGPV, and OPV, and the number of customers. So that's on one side of her board. On the other side of her board, she has her monthly goals. And her monthly goals are $7,000 retail sales per month. And what she does, she writes that out, and then as the month goes, she, based on everyday sales, when she reaches 300, she reduces the goals to, 60.
What's left, right.
Yeah, so, and the other thing she does is that they have a goal to increase their customer base by 20% each year over the previous year. So, and then she looks at that, and I asked her about gratitude, and, does she sincerely, another quote here is, when you can sincerely thank God for the things which you own, only in imagination, you have real faith. To get rich, you will cause the creation of whatsoever you want. So
Let me repeat that. So wait. When you can thank God for the things that you own in your imagination. At this point, they're only in your imagination, but you're being grateful and you're thanking God for that.
Yeah.
That's when you
have real faith. You will get rich. You will cause the creation of whatsoever you want. So that's what she does. Every night she thanks, gives thanks for what they've accomplished during the day or at the end of the month. And if they don't meet their monthly goals, she still gives thanks and gratitude for that. That's a really important thing.
Wow. So that's kind of taken the principle, the law, and looking at it in terms of how can I apply this to my business? Here's an example of a very specific application.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I thought that might be of some value for everyone on the call. Yeah, and the other thing, how are we doing for time? Oh, okay.
Time for one more.
Okay,
one more.
The other thing that I wanted to share with you is on goals. And I don't want to spend a lot of time with that, but what I did get from Bob is that we are spiritual beings and we're having a physical experience and we are here to do God's work. So he said, ask yourself, am I doing enough of God's work? And I pride myself of, volunteering for my church and the Union Gospel Mission for the needies and all of those things. And when I asked that question, my honest answer was, no, I'm not doing enough. I could do more. And I could do more if I have a goal to make more money, you know, and create a team of people who would also be interested to do more with me. So not just me helping others, but having people who are also interested in making a difference in people's lives, so that we would create a movement. It wouldn't be just, you know, as you say, creating a business. It would be a movement. So this is what I'm playing with right now. So I haven't got it all defined. But the most important thing about setting goals for me was that he said that somebody on his team, or somebody he knows really well, Cynthia Kersey, she is the founder of the Unstoppable Foundation that Bob and Sandy Gallagher support. This woman is building schools, and you know, she's building beautiful communities in Africa, and they're supporting her. The head of Habitat for Humanity told Cynthia when she was at her lowest point, she just was divorced and she just couldn't find herself. He told her to create a goal that is bigger than your hurt. And I've got some pretty big hurts. So if I could create a goal that is bigger than my hurt, there's no stopping, you know, where
Okay.
I could.
Wow, I'm getting goosebumps now. Okay, so now you're hitting something that's really triggering me. So creating a goal that's bigger than your hurt.
Than your hurt, yeah.
And who hasn't been hurt?
Yeah.
Who hasn't been disappointed? Who hasn't been let down? But is that cause to slow down? Is that cause to give up? Is that cause to settle for mediocrity? Is that cause to settle into our habits? Or is that now a measuring stick, a point that we can use as a measurement? If my objective is bigger than my hurt, then it fills the gap. It fills the hole.
Mm-hmm.
So this comes back to your why, your C line, that thing that we talked about a few calls ago, the A line, the B line, the C line being connected to your heart. And here's where your heart comes in, is having something that's so significant that your heart's in it, that the thing that you said was the goal had to have a purpose. You had to find the purpose. It's not enough to have the vision,
Mm-hmm.
the imagination.
Yeah.
You have to have the meaning, the purpose behind that. This is why I think this book has come to me, Man's Search for Meaning, because we're never going to do something great. You know, I'll give an example. I don't think anybody sets out to become a billionaire. I think they become a billionaire because they have a vision, and that vision has meaning and impact. And as that vision becomes a reality, the consequence, the natural consequence of that, the way the world is organized, is that the energy returns to source. And the bigger the impact, the bigger the return.
Yeah.
And it's organized, life is organized on planet Earth, where if you're somebody who makes an impact, both positive or negative, one of the returns is notoriety, right? We know who the bad guys are, and we know who the good guys are. So notoriety, fame, is one of the things that come back to us through impact and fortune, or the lack of thereof. So fame and fortune is one of the mechanisms that return to source, depending on what impact you're creating out there. So they're connected to this thing that they want to create. They're so connected to it, they can see a reality that most people can't. And it's their job to communicate that to the best of their ability. And as they gain momentum, and as people buy into this thing and it starts to take form, and as you say, create a movement that can result in a product or in a company, or, you know, a technology or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
then the impact, the degree of impact that has on the community at large is what determines the success, the fame and fortune. So if you're really looking for Nikken to be a vehicle bigger and better and bolder than anything you've ever been connected to, any other income stream that you have. It can be, because it's not limited by traditional mechanisms of business. It's not limited by other people. It's not limited by your boss. It's not limited by the size of their company. It's not limited by the amount of time that you have. It's something that Nikken vehicle goes beyond the limitations of traditional forms of business. So if you're looking for something much bigger than you've given yourself permission to have in the past, you found your way to Nikken, which means on a subconscious level, you're looking for bigger. You're looking for a better expression. And Nikken is in alignment with this innate thing that you're looking for. Now what we have to do is exercise will, because if we don't exercise our willpower, our habits will be habits we bring to this equation, will be habits that we bring to this opportunity. And therefore, we will repeat our current circumstances, even in this opportunity, even though this opportunity doesn't have limitations. And that's why the breaking of the paradigms, the shifting of the paradigms, finding critical meaning and purpose in what it is that you really, really want, and giving time. Like, go sit in a forest for an hour to a week. Figure out what you really want, because until you hit that button, it's going to take a lot of work and energy that you're not in the habit of putting into something. So you're just going to fall into the habit of not doing, the habit of procrastinating, making those calls, the habit of whatever the habits are. But if you have something driving you that is really at the core of your being, that's bigger than your hurt, why it's important for you to take this vehicle and make something very meaningful of it. When you can make that connection, and by the way, I know you can see this. If you've been on any of the calls that we've had, especially of late, if you've listened to our president, and if you've listened to any of our leaders on our calls, you know they're driven by something way beyond the money. It's just much bigger than that for them. And that's why they have the money, because it's the natural consequence of what it is that they're compelled and driven by, and what they've attracted to themselves because of it. So the work here, the real work here, is not the phone calls. That's the consequence. That's what you will do instinctively, intuitively, because you're connected to something that's driving that behavior. But the real work is finding that connection that will drive the behavior, getting in touch with what you really, really want, and understand, and maybe look and see that maybe Nikken is the only vehicle you have got that makes that even a possibility. And when I saw Nikken, and I learned there was a guy making $2 million a month in Japan, I thought, okay, I don't need to be making $2 million a month, even in my wildest dreams. But if there's a guy who can make $2 million a month, I'm sure I can at least make some money. Even if I was only, 5% as good as that guy, 5% of $2 million is still a hell of a lot of money. So I figured there's something here that I can connect to, and I can realize some potential, right? And that's what I got jazzed up about that. When I started to hear the message of the 5 pillars of health, when I started to see humans being not just an expression, a motto, but really why Nikken exists, why Masuda, our founder, founded Nikken, why the curriculum, for those of you who are on Humans Being More online this past weekend, why that matters, that there's a company that cares about who you are and who you are becoming. And that's why Nikken exists. And then on top of that, we've got these great products. And then on top of that, we got this great opportunity to generate an income. And then on top of that, we got this vehicle to make an impact. And then on top of that, we're online and we're still in business, even though most people are suffering. Mm-hmm. It's all these wins. But what's underneath it, what's driving this thing, is humans being more, which, if we go back to the very first thing that Mary talked about, was this perfect spiritual blueprint. This perfect spiritual blueprint of you, which is spirit seeking to express itself in fuller expression. That sounds an awful lot like humans being more to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I've never, ever lost faith in Niken, because it's the same.
Yeah.
It's spiritual journey as a corporation, as a company, as a platform, as a community, is to empower people to find their niche and be more. Mary, did you have one last point before we?
I do. Just on goal setting, find and get a goal that is bigger than your hurt. You don't need to know how to do it, and just have faith, and you could accomplish anything. And my last point is, when I stop and think about the global wellness community of Niken and what we are doing in this company, there are thousands of people who are hooked on this one wonderful idea that we can help everyone get a wellness home, that we can be more, we can do more, give more, serve more, love more, learn more. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Let's everybody give Mary, yeah, that was wonderful. That was an amazing.
Mike, I'd
And
just
thank
like
you.
to,
Yes.
before you end, I'd like to edify the people that are here, as I'm looking at the last 4.5 years and who the monk shots that are here tonight. Their spirit was at the center of this wheel, which I still like the best, and purpose is in the center of it. So they're the same. They're the same.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it that we're going? And being one of those Catholics, Pentecost, the Spirit is next Monday, a week from tonight. It's very much alive and well. That's everybody that's here, knowing everybody that's here. But I'd like to acknowledge, in listening to Mary, when she first, the weekend after The Science of Getting Rich, I got out those books, and I knew who I had in progress here and made one of those decisions. And I would like to acknowledge Gary was at HBM this weekend. Jerome's wife was. Those two couples are here. The other two other couples that I'm working with couldn't make it this evening, but the other coalitions and collaboration that are here, Dee and the Thorntons and myself are on the UT team from Diamond Training still on the shift. We're still meeting monthly, which
Fantastic.
has been profound. And Lisa McClellan and Barb and the Thorntons and Gary, and we're on the Better Together. And so there's some other coalitions, and Leonardo and Michelle and I are working on making this week's Better Way even better than last week's practice. And so everybody here are the same people, the group from Italy. It's that committed group, and it's the timing and sitting, that swimming pool of different pebbles going into the swimming pool of who's sitting around it is happening. And so by
the way, just a feedback for those of you who've been on the call maybe a week or two now, there were 4 weeks ago, just in the last month anyway, pick up some of the previous recordings of the Aligning with Success. I think there's some real home runs there. And that pool analogy, that swimming pool analogy is in there in one of the presentations, I think.
That is a very good one. And listening to the old contact and invite and so forth too. But there is a core group, and it takes just a small group of committed leaders, people that are so purpose driven about the purpose. And it's just become so much more clear. So
I think
and this process, Michael, and everybody that's here, the people that are here.
Thank you, Madeline. And thank you again, Mary. I want to really make an emphasis on one of the points here. Am I doing enough of God's work? That's a great question. And more to the point, the goal. What's the goal? Because if everything ensues from having the goal, then every minute you don't have it is time that's being lost. So you need to invest some time, whatever you got to do to get that goal, to find that goal, make the connection, connect the dots. Mary knows why a Royal Diamond business is the only business that makes sense for her. Mm-hmm. A silver wouldn't make sense. A gold wouldn't make sense. knowing what she knows about what a royal diamond business looks like, how it performs, what kind of income it generates, she knows that that's the only thing that makes sense to her purpose and why she needs that type of a business in order to overcome the hurt, in order to create something that she wants to create with that type of a life and income stream. So I don't know how I could manage without being a Royal Diamond personally. And I've been a Royal Diamond since 1997. So, it's like having a child. You can't imagine not having a child, that child. It's the way it is. So I can relate, I can identify with that size of a vision, if you will. So wherever you are at right now is really majority the sum total of the habits that you have formed over the many years you've formed them. And many of them are habits that you adopted that weren't even yours. They were just handed to you. It doesn't matter. You can use your God-given right to create and see something in spite of the circumstances around you, bigger than you. You can connect to something that is innately perfect in you, that is seeking you as an expression. If we're here as emanations of a creator that's perfect, then as an emanation of that creator, don't you want to emanate the most you can? Don't you want to be the best you can be, whatever that looks like? Wouldn't you want the best version of yourself living on this planet as long as you can possibly live on this planet? Like, do you want to wait 5 years from now to manifest that version of yourself, 10 years from now? Or would you rather get to it sooner than later? And if what we're being informed of is what drives that, what's going to connect those dots for you is having a very clear goal, an image. And faith, perfect faith, would be that you can imagine and give thanks for that which you are imagining as though you already have it, which is perfect faith. How do you know if you're exercising perfect faith? You're the one saying thank you for what it is that you're imagining in your head. If you're not doing that, you're not exercising faith. You're still in doubt. So I believe that we've been given the keys, and sometimes it takes repetition, not sometimes, it takes repetition to break the habit. So maybe do what Mary's doing. Write it down with your left hand. Try that for the next few weeks and see how that maybe creates something inside of you that you didn't have until you started doing that. Whatever it takes to shift the habit and create a new habit is the key to a new you. And you're getting some great golden nuggets here from somebody who's not just talking about it, but doing it. So thank you again, Mary. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Please share the recording of this when it comes out. Have a good night.
Mike, can I just add one very last thing? I wrote down 4 or 5 points through the conversation we had tonight. We don't have time now, but if the next time we can start from here, I would like to share a few thoughts about what we discussed tonight.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to entertain that next week. Thank you, Leonardo.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.